This is the best part of the greatest city on earth. We have the best hospitals and schools, restaurants and museums, the financial and media capital of the world. This district should have a representative who can harness the creativity, energy, and drive of this district and translate that into political power in Washington. I'm not running because I have all the answers to our problems. I'm running because the people of New York 12 do. I want to listen to your struggles, hear your stories, amplify your voice, go to Washington, and execute on your behalf.
Another member of the Kennedy family looking now to enter the political ring. That is Jack Schlossberg, the grandson of President John F. Kennedy, announcing he will run for Congress in New York as a Democrat, looking to fill the Manhattan seat of retiring Congressman Jerry Nadler. Joining us now, MSNBC Washington reporter and co-host of The Weekend, our friend Jackie Alemany. Jackie, good morning. Great to see you.
Good morning.
You got a chance to have a conversation with Jack about his political ambition and why he's running for office.
Yes, nearly 64 years after his grandfather implored the next generation of Americans to step up and fulfill the duty to public service, Jack, his grandson, is doing the same as Democrats are making the call for generational change as leaders in their 70s continue to cling on to power in Washington. He announced that he was jumping into the race this morning. We had a very long conversation. We have a snippet of it here. Let's give it a watch.
I'm running for office because 250 years after our country was founded, we're in a crisis, unlike we've seen before. It's a serious moment, and it's a crisis on almost every single level. It's a cost of living crisis driven by the president's big, beautiful bill, which is historic cuts to social programs that make life more affordable for working families. Healthcare, education, childcare, all been cut. It's a corruption crisis. The president has made nearly $1 billion so far this year while in office. He's picking winners and losers in every industry from the Oval Office. That's cronyism. It's not capitalism. And the worst part is, none of it has to be this way. There's good news, because we can do something about it. And Democrats have to win back the House in the 2026 midterm elections. History is watching this moment.
I want to pivot and talk a little bit about the elephant in the country, which is your grandfather was obviously the president of the United States, and your family is one of the most storied political dynasties in American history. But Trump has been seemingly obsessed with dismantling your family's legacy. He's declassified previously classified Kennedy assassination records. He's paved over the Rose Garden, which your grandmother last renovated with her friend Bunny Mellon in 1961. He recently raised the Jacqueline Kennedy Garden with the demolition of the East Wing. He sought to mogify the Kennedy Center, and he also even wants to repaint Air Force One so that it no longer has, as he's put it, a Jackie Kennedy color. What do you think Trump's trying to accomplish here, and does it make your decision to run for this seat that much more urgent?
My grandfather's legacy of service means a lot to me. He was the youngest person ever elected president. He sent a man to the moon. His White House drafted the Civil Rights Act, and I'm protective over that. And President Trump, and it's not just my family's legacy, it's generations of Americans and New Yorkers who fought and sacrificed to build this country. And he is dismantling that legacy. He's so obsessed with the Kennedys and the Kennedy name and the Kennedy brand that he caged one and put it in his cabinet, a rabid dog in his cabinet, put a collar on my cousin RFK Jr. and has him there barking, spreading lies and spreading misinformation.
You were the first member of your family to come out and criticize him publicly. What do you say to voters who now see the Kennedy name and associate it with your cousin's policies?
I don't think there's anything anyone can do to change what JFK, my grandparents, my mom, my Uncle John stood for. Nobody's that powerful. But RFK Jr. is a dangerous person who has making life and death decisions as Secretary of Health and Human Services. And you don't just have to take my word for it. Now we have an actual record to go on. He has cut a quarter of the people who work in his agency. He fired all the vaccine experts on the panel and replaced them with anti-vaxxers. He's cutting funding for life-saving research, cancer patients, giving them their last hope. And people should know, I mean, when he's not making infomercials for Steak and Shake and Coca-Cola, he's spreading misinformation and lies that are leading to deaths around the country. There's a measles outbreak in America right now, higher than it's been in 40 years as a direct result of what he has done.
Do you think your cousin is profiting off of his position in the Trump administration?
this brings us back to the corruption crisis that we're in. I don't think it takes a genius to know that the Trump administration is the most corrupt in American history. And I don't know who's paying him, but I know that what he's saying isn't making anybody healthier or safer, and that the American people should know when he barks who's actually talking.
Right now in Washington, the Senate passed a bill to end the shutdown after a 40-day impasse. It reopens the government. There were a handful of Senate Democrats, not without criticism, who ultimately supported this deal. It's going to reverse some of the pain that Trump inflicted, but obviously there's been a lot of backlash so far. Are you opposed to Democrats making this deal, and do you think that Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is up to the task to continue to lead this cohort of Democrats?
Well, President Trump is to blame for this shutdown. He's in control of all three branches of government, and the blame rests directly on him. And we just have to look at what he did during the shutdown. He had a Great Gatsby-themed party at Mar-a-Lago. He knocked down half of the White House to build a ballroom, and he went golfing. And the American people understand who's actually to blame. And the voters last week showed that they blame the Republican Party for this shutdown. And the message that I got from last week's election was that it's not the time to cave.
Jackie, fascinating conversation. You can hear him on the message we've been talking about this morning, which is affordability, healthcare, contrasted with the president building the ballroom, knocking down the White House, and giving tax breaks to billionaires. But what more do we know about his politics? He's a relatively clean slate politically. He has a big social media presence. People may know him from TikTok or X, where he posts videos all the time. But is he sort of in the young Mamdani role in Manhattan, in New York City, or is he a little more centrist in that way?
No, I think what we're going to see is a more centrist, pragmatic lawmaker, potentially, at least a candidate right now. I mean, it was really interesting talking to him yesterday because you'd view him potentially as an insurgent or an outsider, just regardless of his name, looking at his social media presence. But he has decided that he wants to try to go to the inside and actually impact policy from within the halls of Congress in the legacy of his family, and trying to use his experience as an influencer to better do that job. I mean, that is the gap that he sees in the Democratic Party right now. That was his takeaway from being on the campaign trail last year, that was missing this progressive, sometimes pragmatic voice in the party to reach out to young voters and try to galvanize and excite them on their terms. But that doesn't necessarily translate to the policies that we saw from Zoran. They might have similar social media styles, but this is someone who I think is going to be more of a technocrat who wants to use his law degree, his business degree, and actually work with leaders within the party in New York City, at least.
He has never run for public office. He's never indicated any interest in running for public office until now. Sitting with you, he seemed very polished, very professional, and quite informed on several issues and with a specific point of view, no?
Yeah, I think that there's a little bit of a gap between the social media persona who we've seen on Instagram X with this Trump trolling model. He called it trolling for a cause, that actually now a lot of higher profile Democratic leaders are trying to mimic in order to break through in this media landscape. But there's a difference between that person and the person we sat down with yesterday. That's the Jack Uno. This is the candidate Jack Schlossberg that I think we're seeing for the first time. And it does feel like, despite the lack of public comments and statements and messaging on this, he's been thinking about this potentially for a while. I think he saw this opportunity open up and thought that this is one of the most coveted seats in Congress in America, really, and that it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to potentially jump in and try to also get involved at this very time when there's especially so much controversy and tension over what the Kennedy name means.
Yeah, the Kennedy name being diminished in so many ways. But I think even if it's not an explicit reason to run for office, I'm sure the family would be happy that RFK Jr. would not be the only Kennedy in public service right now were he to win.
Yeah, Jack Schlossberg calling him a barking rabid dog who's been collared by President Trump. It is a crowded field, including one of Jerry Nadler's own aides, who may be anointed by Nadler himself. We'll see. It'll be fascinating. Great conversation, Jackie. Thanks. You can see much more of Jackie's exclusive interview with Jack Schlossberg this afternoon on Deadline White House, and, of course, this Saturday on Jackie's show, The Weekend. MSNBC Washington reporter, co-host of The Weekend, Jackie Alamany. Thank you.
Thanks.